Hi, everyone. Welcome to Survival Jobs, a podcast in collaboration with BroadwayWorld. My name is Samantha Tuozzolo, and this is my super handsome, talented, smart, the best person I know, Jason A. Coombs.
Oh.
Coombs? Did you just hear me have a problem with my speech? Coombs.
That happens to me all the time. No worries.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Samantha Dawn. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you? What's your temperature check today?
Ooh, I am feeling... It's like the calm before the storm, which I feel like always happens a lot. It's like this weird in-between time where I just finished that really cool residency. So I'm back in Connecticut, or I was in Connecticut, back in Bridgeport. But I'm gearing up for this show that's happening this weekend. I'm helping out my friend with. So I just been really busy prepping for that, of course, and like never ends.
That's
How
so
about you?
exciting. I'm good. I'm feeling it's so, interesting. It's not interesting at all because it's been a fact forever that the weather really affects your mood. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just been feeling like a little bit warmer than it did this weekend. The sun is out and I'm
Yes.
feeling good. And so I know we talk a lot about, and we have talked about Hoda and Jenna on this show before. But I do
Mm-hmm.
watch these girls almost every morning. But by the way, I am working my survival job while I watch them. I have them in the background while I sort through emails. If I have a call, I pause them. If anyone from my job is listening, please don't
I'm
come
glad.
at me.
Yeah.
But I do watch them a lot. And, I watch them because it's just like good and light. But also, I really learn from them as hosts. And I've said this
Mm-hmm.
so many times. I really think we are Hoda and Jenna. Like the vibe, the dynamic, like I am Jenna and you are Hoda. It's so funny when you really
Love that.
when you really like watch and pay attention to like their dynamic and their personalities, the way that they interview and host. I feel like it's
Mm-hmm.
us in a different way, of course.
Yeah. We need more wine. Don't they have a lot of wine?
No, they don't. That was when
Oh.
Kathy Lee
Oh.
was the host. They had wine every day, but yeah, let's still have
But like
wine.
9 o'clock in the morning, was that?
Yeah, but 9 o'clock, they're already up since 3 or whatever. So they're up since 3 a.m. So it's
I guess it's
9
5
o'clock's
o'clock somewhere.
ladies who lunch kind of, yeah. So I was watching yesterday. So I was
Yikes.
watching yesterday and they had somebody on the show and I don't know who it was, sorry. But she was, they were talking about healthy habits to, perform before bed and when you wake up to have a more positive day, to feel good. Do you hear this horn?
Yes. It's very
Welcome to New
horny.
York every Yeah, definitely. So they're saying all these things to do to be feeling good in the mornings and to have a better sleep at night. And this lady was like, wake up, 10 minutes before you need to and put on your clothes, get your coffee and go outside for a 10-minute walk. It's going to really help your day, kickstart it, feel better, feel happier. So today I got up 30 minutes before I normally do. And I
Yes.
poured my coffee and I went to the park and I walked. And I really want to say, while I walked, I listened to a podcast, which I'll talk about in a second. I really want to say it has affected my day and I feel better and I feel more alive. I feel more productive. I feel happier versus we understand the work from home life, waking up in your apartment, pouring your coffee in your apartment, working in your apartment. Sometimes I go to the coffee shop, sometimes I go to my office, but it's whatever. But anyway, thank you to Hoda and Jenna and the guests they had on who told me to go for a walk. And so I feel great and happy and alive. And I caught up on this podcast, which I've talked about on this show before, called Second Life, directed by, hosted by Hillary Kerr. You
Yes.
guys should check it out. She really, yeah, it's really was when I listened to this, it got the inspiration for survival jobs. She speaks to mostly women about their second life and starting off on one career path and then something else happens that you didn't expect maybe later in life because women often have the stigma of once you hit a certain age, that's it, you can't do anything else. So I just feel good. Shout out to Hoda and Jenna. Shout out to Second Life podcast. That's my temperature check.
I was saying yes, but I was on mute. Yes, yes, yes. Catching up all the yeses I missed out on because I was on mute.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I want to listen to that podcast. I should.
It's so good. And I did,
Yeah.
sorry if Hillary Kerr, if you're listening, I did write some down. I did write down some questions she asks for inspiration for us to like switch it up a bit. It's really good to learn from other hosts and other people who
Hmm.
interview guests just to see what they chat about and the way that their interviews flow and the conversations they have. It's always good to keep on learning, keep on
For
expanding, and
sure.
keep on growing.
Keep growing, baby. So yeah, it's Valentine's Day weekend before, I guess the weekend before Valentine's Day. And wait, do you have a Valentine, Samantha?
You? Will you?
Oh, yeah, there we go. So I'm
This is
wearing this
my
t-shirt.
Cupid costume. Yeah,
Because
Jason, you're my Valentine.
I love that for us. You're my Valentine too. But I'm hosting this show, which is called the Krabby Cabaret, which I talked about briefly a couple episodes ago, but I didn't really give the big plug. But it's a show happening at the Bijou Theater here in Bridgeport. It's one of the oldest theaters in the country, and my friend Sarah Byrne is the director and creator of this show called the Krabby Cabaret, and it's called the Not So Happy Valentine's Day. It's all songs that are like fun and a little bit risque and a little bit, sassy, and just like it's gonna be a really good time. Lisa was in the first one. Our good friend Lisa Lampanelli was in the first one.
Fun.
But this one's gonna be really cool, and she asked me to host, so I'm gonna be hosting it. That's why I'm wearing this t-shirt. I was like, I gotta make sure this thing fits. Maybe I'll just wear it for this to make sure.
It
But
definitely fits. You look good.
oh, thank you, thank you. So yeah, I just want to tell people, if you hear this before Friday, February 10th, and you want to get tickets, you want to come take the train to Bridgeport, or if you're in the area, tickets are $15. You can use the code LOVE to save $5.
Whoa.
LOVE. Yeah, so there'll be 10. And you can get them at the Bridgeport, Bijou Theater CT.net. Where you get your tickets at. It's gonna be a really good show. There's gonna be some Alanis Morissette you might hear, a little bit of musical theater, maybe some Whitney. Like, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So
Ooh,
y'all should
Whitney.
come.
Jason, are you singing? Or are you just hosting?
No, I'm just hosting.
Man, I
no
wish
one,
you
no
could
one
make
wants
a
that.
little. I do. I would love for you to have a solo.
I'm dead. No, I'm just happy to host and happy to co-produce and to assist Sarah in her endeavors. Like I was saying before in that last episode, she's just one of those people who, she has a full-time job, but also loves to create. And she's an amazing singer. And I'm happy that she's finding that outlet to do her love, even if she's not, in New York City pounding the pavement like some others, you know.
You can pound the pavement no matter what city you're in. So shout out to Sarah and shout
Right?
out to you. Literally,
Thank you.
you're like Hamilton running
I'm
like
dead.
why do you you literally are like why do you write like you're running out of time? Why do you write? Why do you host? Why do you produce? Like you just are going, going, going. And it's always really admirable. So
Thank
shout out
you.
to you, Jason, and the best
That's very sweet.
Valentine ever.
Yes, for sure.
I am doing a little like Galentine and gays dinner.
Dead.
My Galentine and my gays. How good is that? Shout out to
Hmm.
Marie, who we love, who works with O&M, who has been helping us get guests. She and I have
Yeah,
gotten like pretty close this past year, and I was like, "Will you be my Galentine?" So
I
we were
love
like
that.
planning Galentine's dinner, yeah. But then we were like, "Let's bring our gays in." So we're doing just like a little dinner. We called it Galentine and the gays.
Very good title.
You know, can I just say something about Valentine's Day? Like, I think every time it rolls around, single people are like, I'm single and like, I'm sad. But like, I just want to shout out to all the single people. There's nothing wrong with being single. We're not single. There are people who want to date and want that life and want that partner and they work towards it. And eventually, if you try hard, you'll land there. I want to say I am a single 32-year-old woman and I don't try to date. Maybe one day I will. I've dated. I've had long-term serious boyfriends in the past. I've dated. I've had a good time. I'm at a point in my life where I am not swiping. Occasionally I try. I'm not really like eager to like go sit at a bar with somebody that I don't know and ask them about, their job or their friend group. I'm just like not there. So I want to
Yeah.
shout out to all the people who are single and like fine and happy with it. There's nothing to be oh, I'm single on Valentine's Day. Like, I am single on Valentine's Day, and I am here for it, and I'm happy about it.
Big facts, big mood, big energy.
Thank you.
Mic drop. There she
Thank
goes.
you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we go into our guest?
No, I think, I'm just feeling good.
Before we jump into our special guest, Daniel Beeman, I just wanted to acknowledge Tyree Nichols, who was another Black man who was, brutally killed by the police. So I just wanted to say his name again, because I know, like, we talked about it briefly last week, but I feel like it always becomes this thing where we like talk about it and then it kind of just dissipates.
Right.
So I just wanted to acknowledge 2 episodes in a row of that. Yeah.
Do you have like any organizations that we can shout out, that we can donate to, that we can volunteer
I think
at
we
to
have
try to
one.
like?
I think we have them on the list from the last last, unfortunately.
Last handful of times that we've had to talk about this.
Yeah,
Correct?
I think we always have the list on our show notes that I'll try to find some updated ones. Maybe that's a really good idea, Samantha. Just because we try to be, socially conscious, and we try to use our platform in the best ways that we can. So,
well, yeah, and it's so important to acknowledge it while we are here to talk about art and inspiration and things that fulfill us. We're still living in this world that needs to improve, or else we can't continue to be happy, cheerful people if there's so much terribleness happening around us.
Yeah.
Terribleness is not a word.
We get it.
It expressed how
it
I
expresses felt. Perfectly.
Thank you.
Words were not words before they were words. Right?
That's right. That's right.
Let's talk about Daniel Beeman.
Yeah, Daniel. It was so nice to chat with him, you guys. This is our now 3rd Survival Jobs, a podcast guest from Funny Girl. So we're just making our way through the cast. We are big Funny Girl fans, and it was so good to chat with him. He has some great, great, great stories. He really inspired me, his journey, and he sort of came into theater a little bit later. Not really, but a little bit. So his journey is really great, you guys, and buckle up.
It's buckled. Should I read his bio? Daniel Beeman is currently in the Funny Girl Ensemble, which is his Broadway debut. Previous credits include the tours of Hello, Dolly, where he played Cornelius, Something Rotten, where he was the Shakespeare understudy. Regional theaters he's performed at include KC Rep, KC Starlight, MT Wichita, Ogunquit Playhouse, and Spinning Tree.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fierce.
Fire.
And fierce and fire. Enjoy,
y'all. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to my Valentine, Coombsy.
Yes. Hey, Daniel. Thank you for joining us on Survival Jobs, the podcast. How's your day going so far?
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me. It's going really well. How are you going?
I can't complain.
We're good. Jason's in the middle of a writing residency right now, so he's absolutely killing it, multitasking with survival jobs, writing residencies, podcasts.
That's so exciting.
I'm just struggling to wake up on time for the day. So that's where I'm at.
I know it. I'm with you.
I had a whole plan today. I was like, I'm going to get up super early, work out, do laundry before I log into my survival job. And I fully didn't do that.
That's okay. It's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Happy February.
Yeah.
So Daniel, we were just chatting about you are our 3rd cast member from Funny Girl.
Yes.
3rd time's a charm, so we're so happy to talk to you and chat Funny Girl, chat all the things. But before we do that, let's talk about survival jobs.
I love it. Let's do
it. What do you think defines a survival job? What does that mean to you?
How I always whenever, because when you move to New York and you're on the phone with your parents every once in a while, they're like, how's it going? And then you're like, well, I'm doing the survival job. And that's such a concept that's I don't want to say it's foreign to people, maybe not in our industry, but it kind of is in a certain way. But it just, for me, it means anything that you do that can pay the bills, that isn't necessarily exactly what you want to be doing, performing wise. Um, so that's how I've always looked at it. It was always like a distinct, this is what I do to make money in order to pursue this crazy dream of mine. So that's what
Yeah.
that's always meant to me. It's literally a job to survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
Bam. I mean, everyone's interpretation is different, but I think that's
Yeah,
a ding, ding, ding for me.
totally.
Dan, do you have a favorite survival job? Maybe one that maybe impacted your acting career, or maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe it's one you enjoyed.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, so many, I bet a lot of actors, still work here, but like when I first moved to the city in 2015, um, the main day job that I had was at Lululemon, which was
Oh,
great. I mean, other friends of mine who, had lived here were all like, it's consistent, it's chill, and, a lot of people that you work with are also actors or musicians. So there's just kind of this built-in understanding of like how the industry works. Um, so that was like my favorite day job, because I worked with pretty much all actors, and it was just like a bunch of theater kids running a store, which was very
so there's
exciting.
lots of drama.
Lots of
Yeah.
drama. Yeah, no,
Breaking out into song.
exact. Listen, when the doors were locked and we had to clean up, listen, a lot of show tunes were being played over the PA.
Fun.
It was lovely. No,
Oh
but it
my
was
gosh.
we were just we were all, kind of after the same thing. So it was super easy. Like, hey, I got a last minute audition. Could you cover me for XYZ? And then someone usually would. And it was just always it was just nice. And everyone was like into working out or going to dance classes and that kind of stuff. So surprisingly, I had a great time at my day job. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, there were other ones like along the way, that weren't as lovely, but
Can you
Yeah.
that one was,
tell?
yeah. Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
we've all done the catering, and which is always wonderful and horrifying in at the same time. Um, but one of the I remember like first moving here. I think my roommate at the time, this was before I went to Lulu, and he was like, I think I was asking him like, what do you do for like a day job, and he was like, well, I work with this catering company, I can like forward your info on. I was like, great. So he did that, and I got an email that was like, great, you're hired. I was like, fierce, what's next? And I remember they were like, okay, here's like your first event, and it was like this address in Midtown, and they were like, just show up at like 6 a.m. I was like, okay, great, wear this. I was like, fierce, I'll,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
so I'm rolling up into Times Square at 6 a.m., and there's all these people that know what they're doing, and I was, it was like one of 100 people. I had no clue what I was doing. I walked in, it was like it was like I talked to maybe 4 people, and I was just like, hi, I don't know what I'm doing, just point me in the direction. No one pointed me in the direction, so then I was just kind of, like, oh, this looks like it needs to be done, I'll try this. And I remember I got yelled at in front of everyone for opening champagne bottles incorrectly. I was like, this is not going great, but like, you know what? I'm living the New York dream. We're fine. And then they're like, okay, you take this tray. I was like, okay, great. And they're like, you're going to go through these doors, and then, you're just going to walk around and start, whatever. So then
Mhm.
music starts bumping. I'm like, and I finally turned to someone. I was like, what are we doing? Like, where are we? And he's like, oh, it's the Good Morning America, like 50th anniversary or
Oh,
whatever. I was like, what do you mean? So we walk out into the studio, and we're like on camera. A, didn't know that.
Oh
B,
my
the
gosh.
Pitbull is performing. And then it's like George Stephanopoulos and all the people. And I was like,
oh my God.
how is this my first one? And then I was like, never done it before. And I'm literally like serving people like on camera. It was horrifying. I hope I avoided the camera, but that was my intro into catering. I was like, this is bananas. And it was just like the wildest first New York
Did
experience.
you have to sign like a waiver to be on camera, or they
I
were just like run
and
free?
honestly, maybe I did. And this was 2015. It was like 7 years ago almost at this point. But it was just like, what is happening? So anyway, that was my
Oh
first.
my
That is
That
God.
was my
such a
first catering
story.
job. It was a little nutty.
You're like trying to open up a bottle of champagne in front of Mr. Worldwide.
horrifying, right? So, yeah, so that was my first catering experience. It was a little, it was an exciting one for sure. The ones thereafter were not as exciting, but that was kind of like is this how all of them are? Because it was so stressful, and it was, I was 20. What was I, like 22? So it was like
Oh man.
nothing
Wow, you're a
mattered.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just doing the thing.
Exactly.
Wow, I also want to say that I've been thinking about dead serious getting like a very part-time job at Lulu, because the discount that the staff gets is so
Listen,
good.
well, then you start.
So good.
Then we're kind of like, maybe they should just pay us in product, because I mean, you end up
Buying so much.
exactly. But listen, I really enjoyed working for them, and they were just really really flexible, and they got it, and it was just
Yeah.
a really lovely experience.
Those
Damn, that took
leggings
me.
feel like butter. Sorry,
I
Jay.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
No, you're good.
No,
I was gonna
they
say
do.
that took me back to like hearing you talk about like the joyfulness of like working there.
Yeah.
To me back to like when I used to work at Starbucks in
Mhm.
Connecticut a long time ago, and like how it was just bunch of us were just like young in our 20s, and it was a very non-busy store in the afternoons and
Yeah.
nighttime. So we'd like have like fashion shows, and
Yes.
we'd like no, literally we gave this kid a makeover one day, and like we bought him all new clothes, and he was like trying them on, and
Oh
we
my
were like
God.
throwing pastries out the window, out the drive-through window, like how far we could throw them, like
Oh my
It's your
God.
pastry throwing contests.
Oh my
like how
God.
carefree was that back then, right? Wow.
Yeah, truly. And like,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah, of course. Like whatever you got to do to get through, because we know those hours are long, and
Yeah.
when you're opening the store at on like Sundays, there was like a yoga class in there that started at like, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the morning. So I was living
Yeah.
way uptown at the time, and I remember like I would have to get on like the 7 a.m. get off on 14th, and but it was everyone was in it together, and it was like it was somehow fun and enjoyable. So
That's amazing. Well,
yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
it's so fun. So we were reading that you were a competitive swimmer and Irish dancer, or wait,
Yeah.
competitive Irish dancer and
Yes.
a swimmer.
Yes.
So how did you transition into theater? Like what was like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
yeah.
God. I have quite honestly, I have no idea. Yeah, my dad was a swim coach for like 30, 40 years. So
Wow.
swimming kind of was always what, my brother and I did. And so I did that, all through high school. I thought I wanted to like swim in college, and then I ended up not wanting to. But it was like, yeah, okay, well, uh, I'll swim. And then I remember my mom had a VHS of Riverdance, and I remember just watching it over and
I
over and
remember those
over.
commercials on
Yes,
TV.
come on, right? It's like the early 2000s, and it was still, because it was kind of at its height at that time. And I remember just like she had the VHS, and I just would watch it, and I'd be like, I want to try that. And we found a studio in my hometown that was like certified, like in the Irish dance world, there are certain to be like a competitive Irish dance studio, you have to be like certified by this organizing body in Ireland. And there happened to be a studio in Omaha, where I'm from, and I just started kind of taking lessons, and then that turned into starting to compete, and then it was like, oh, then we were traveling around the country, just going to these competitions. You should YouTube it if you ever. It is a fascinating world. There's a whole documentary on it. It's just fascinating. But
Oh
so
my
I started
God.
competing everywhere, and got competed at the World Championships twice, and
Where's the World
then
Championships? In Ireland?
every year it changes every year. But I did
Oh,
it in Ireland, and then it was in Boston one year. So but it was around that time that I was finishing up Irish dancing, because that would have been like 2012, 2013. That my college roommate was like a huge theater nerd, and I had like I grew up. Listen, I grew up on the Donny Osmond Joseph VHS. You all remember? Listen.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Grew up
Yes,
on that.
Joseph.
That was my concept of musical theater, and like
Yes.
we saw the tours that would come through Omaha, but for whatever reason, it wasn't. I didn't connect the dots that those were like human people that did this. For whatever reason, I just was like, "What a fun show," and that was the end of it. Um, but then in college, my roommate was like, "You sing, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've sung in choirs all through my life and in high school and growing up." And he's like, "Well, there's this I saw this community theater's doing Next to Normal. Maybe you should go audition. I feel like you'd be right for one of the roles." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went to, and didn't know what a resume I didn't know what any of these things were.
Oh
And
my
I
gosh.
they were like, just they had me sing like the Gabe material. So I sang it. And they're like, "You got it." I was like, "So what does that mean?"
Sweet.
So, and obviously I had, been on stage with choir and Irish dance. So I kind of had a vague understanding, but that was the first time that it was like a show. They were like, "Okay, here's how it goes," and all the things. And we did the show. It was great. And that was the moment that I like the bug kind of bit me. And I remember calling my parents being like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna try this." Because I have a
Yes.
degree in journalism, which is what I was studying at the time.
Mhm.
So it was a total left turn. But I remember calling my parents, and my mom was like, "Duh." Like she had this grand plan in the back of her head where she was like, "Yeah." Like
Yeah.
she always kind of thought like this is what you should be doing. Um, so that was kind of a lovely little surprise that we all were on the same page. Um,
Yes.
so from that point on, then I auditioned at Music Theater Wichita because I started taking voice lessons after that show, and he was my voice teacher at the time was like, "You should audition for the summer stock," and I did, and I ended up getting it, and then I would say that summer of 2013, which was almost a decade ago now, that was kind of the time that it was like, okay, it's cemented. Like this is what I need to be doing. I made a lot of friends that were in like BFA programs and moving to New York, and that was when I cut my teeth that summer. Um, and then I just started working. I went to college in Kansas City, which is a great theater town. Um, and I just started working a ton and got my
That's
equity card
amazing.
and just started
Yes.
just working and doing shows left and right. And then I finally decided, like, you know what, I'm going to move to New York and we're going to do it. And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah. So it was kind of a very roundabout. It was all over the place, just doing a million different things. And then
Yeah.
kind of like finally finding this and like, oh yeah, this is it.
Also, shout out to your mom because I feel like a lot of parents at the age when you're already in college and choosing a life path, a lot of parents would be like, "What? A
Yeah,
theater? Like that is crazy."
totally.
Your mom's like, "Duh."
Duh.
Like that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, no.
that tracks.
Yeah, I got really lucky. Both my parents are, and now that I'm, I've been doing, like tours and on Broadway now, my parents are like season, subscribers to the tours in Omaha.
Oh,
They're now subscribers to this little like regional theater in Omaha that they're like, okay, we're seeing, and they do all the like avant-garde kind of like
Oh, snap.
weirder stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we just
Yeah.
saw this show." I was like, "You saw that? Like, what do you mean?" Like, "You did?" So yeah, it's kind of cool because they always loved it, growing up, like all the uh, Joseph, Phantom, all that stuff.
yeah.
And then now that I'm in it, now they're starting to be like, I've done a couple Sondheims now, and they're like, "Well, our favorite Sondheim's this one," and I'm like, "Oh." So it's kind of funny that it has kind of inspired a mutual
Yeah.
love between
Yeah.
all of us. So it's
How
kind of
many
cool.
times have they seen you in Funny?
Uh, oh, many. They've probably come up one, two. They've come up like 3 or 4 times now,
Wow.
and it's usually like they'll come for like 3 to 4 days at a time, but they will see every performance. They'll go to a
Yeah.
two-show day. They're like,
Wow.
"Yep." So
That's so
each time
nice.
that they're here, I'm like, "Well, do you want to see something else?" They're like, "Well, no." So
They're like,
they're
we want to see Leah Michelle.
exactly, yeah, yep. So they're like, they have seen, they now know the lines. They know everything, and now
That
they're
is
like,
so cute.
yeah, it's very sweet. So
Oh God, I love that.
yeah.
My mom is very similar in the sense where she's like, well, I know this about theater.
Yeah.
I've been trying to show my niece Hamilton on Disney Plus,
Oh,
and my
yes.
mom was over, and Chris Jackson came on, and my mom looked at me. She goes, I know that's Benny, Samantha, like from In the Heights. And I'm
That's
like,
right. Oh my God. Yeah.
good
Yeah.
work, Donnie.
Wow. She's starting to
So,
connect the dots and all that.
yeah,
Oh, I love
like
it.
I fully relate on like the parents being like, I know sometime, and
Yeah.
my mom's like, I saw Lin-Manuel backstage before he was even Lin-Manuel. I'm like, no, he was always Lin-Manuel. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. But
So
before
it's
everyone else
funny.
knew. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Um,
Oh God.
so this is your Broadway debut,
It
Funny Girl.
is. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like, making your debut in such a talked about production?
Yeah, totally. It was, well, I mean, we all came out of the pandemic, what's the word? Not, I don't want to say not optimistic, but like a
Yeah.
little, because I mean, it took, for like a year and a half, everything was, they kept saying, oh, it's going to be August 2020, Broadway will be back. And then it just kept getting, all
Yikes.
these things. And
Mhm.
uh, we were just like, what do we do? So we were like, juggling all the different things, like, should I go back to school? Should I get a normal job, in big quotes? Like, what should we do? And then, the summer of 2021 rolls around, and they I got an audition for it, and I was, at that point, I was auditioning a lot, just like, going in for, a million different things, and it kind of felt like back to normal, for lack of a better term. But I remember just going in and auditioning, and thinking like, I'm not getting my hopes up. And it was kind of the first time that I remember being like, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to do my thing. And I don't know if that made a difference or not, or if it just happened to be coincidence that it ended up working out in my favor. But there was a distinct mental shift that I was like, I'm just going to do my thing. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I just move on to the next one. And luckily it did. I remember my last callback was in, I don't know, early September, and I didn't hear anything, for a couple weeks, because I had like 3 rounds of auditions. And every time I danced, I was like, that was terrible. I'll never
Aw.
get this. And I remember I got the call. My agent calls, and he's like, Daniel. And I was like, yes. He's like, it's Steven. I was like, hi. He's like, I have an offer for you. And I was going through I was just rattling through every audition. I was like, well, okay, well, I didn't have a callback for that. And I was like, and I asked him, I was like, for what? Like, I don't even know. And he goes,
Oh
I have
my
an offer for you for
gosh.
the ensemble for Funny Girl. And I was like,
Wow.
when did I audition for Funny? Like, and I was like, which production? I was like, was it a
I'm
small?
dead.
And I truly was like, oh.
You're like on
And I
Broadway?
think I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yes. And then we talked through it. And then I was like, okay. And then I got off the phone, and I called my boyfriend, and I was like, I think I just got my Broadway debut. And then I called
Wow.
my mom, and I called my dad, and then
Oh.
and then I got off the phone with all of them. And then like a few hours later, I hadn't heard from my agent, because he was like, I'll email you in a bit with all the details. And I was like, okay. And then a few hours later, he emails, and I had to reread the email about 10 times, because I just didn't think, after the last year and a half that we had, how is it possible that this thing that I've been working towards for the last decade, what do you mean it just came to fruition? I don't know. Like, it just happens, you know? So it took several months, because then at that point we weren't starting rehearsals until February. So it was like a 5-month period where I was like, they made a mistake. It was the wrong headshot. They
Oh my
they
god.
I
Wrong
don't
headshot.
they pulled the wrong headshot. They called the wrong Daniel. I was going through every reason in my head up until the morning of our first rehearsal. I was walking. I'm like, I'm gonna walk in. There's not gonna be anyone there. This is.
Oh my god.
It
I
was.
felt that. I felt
Yeah.
that for sure.
It was total. It was total. Like, I just didn't believe any of it until I walked into the rehearsal room, and everyone was there. It's like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
So it's been, you know, it was, so getting the call was just insane. And, I still kind of can't believe it at times. but it has been just such a lovely experience, because everyone from top to bottom has just been lovely and kind, and everyone kind of said, we all came out at the other end of something awful that is still unfortunately ongoing, but we're lucky enough that we get to do this now. So there was just this, like, it was kind of like a clean slate, and everyone was just excited to be there. Um, and it's just been like a lovely experience, and like what a
That's
fun,
amazing.
they haven't done this show since 1960, 64, 65, whenever it
Yeah,
debuted. So it's very special to bring that show back to Broadway, 50
Yeah.
plus years
iconic.
later. So 60 years
Yeah,
later almost. Yeah.
Jason and I
iconic.
came, we loved it.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
came
Yeah,
when? I don't even know anymore.
I honestly
Yeah.
don't remember.
I have
It
no
was so
idea.
long
I
ago.
know. I know. I
It
can't.
was a
Time just
Julie
blurs
day.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost a year. It's almost a year to the day of our first rehearsal. So
Wow.
Yeah.
it's been
It was
it's been a
summertime,
whirlwind.
right,
No
Samantha?
idea. Couldn't tell you
Yeah.
one thing about it. I have no
Yeah,
clue.
yeah.
All I know is we went on a Thursday.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Love that.
We saw
And you
Julie.
can see that we
Nice.
made a little reel on our Instagram page. Maybe we'll share it again of
Oh,
our little
yes,
trip.
please do. I gotta find it. That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
then we'll know the date.
Yeah.
Once we find the
Yes. Like,
reel,
oh, when was
we'll know
that?
Yeah.
the
Oh,
date.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah,
That is so amazing, Daniel.
yeah.
And I guess my question now is for people who haven't seen it, like
Mhm.
why should they come? Like I know why I think people should go, but why do you think people should come and see it?
I mean, we all know this score, whether we know it or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've all heard
Of
people, we've all
course. The
heard
Rain on My
"The Rain on My
Parade.
Parade," um, and it's just this is just the best way to hear that music. It's, a Broadway orchestra, there's a Broadway stage, you've got Leah Michelle singing the material down. So it's just the best way to see it. It feels like there are certain shows, um, like, I will feel similarly, like, when I go see Parade. Like, it's like,
Bye.
this is how I want to see and hear this material. So that's kinda what I would tell people about Funny Girl. It's like, this is how you wanna hear it. You wanna hear it live, and you wanna see everyone dancing, and, see
Yes.
Ramin and Tova and Leah and Jared, and see the whole cast, and it's just the best way to see it. And what's cool too is, so many people have grown up on the film. People grew up on the original cast recording, the movie soundtrack, so it's kind of ingrained in
Pop
the
culture.
American culture, if you will.
Mhm.
And everyone has a connection to it, like, in some capacity. Um, and it feels, there's something special about connecting to, like, material that is so ingrained in the musical theater canon, and like I said, in American culture, and like seeing it in 2023, there's just something very special about connecting to it in that way. So anyway, long story short, come see it, just because it's just a fun time. And
Yes.
it's nice to hear just an old fashioned Broadway show,
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
and it's a spectacle. I
Yeah.
was surprised by like how big it was, like all the
Yeah.
dance numbers, and oh
Amazing,
Yeah.
wow, it
amazing.
was so fun. It was such
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
great fun
Thanks.
show.
You'll have a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
fun time at Funny Girl.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So
But
it seems like you've had like a very complex journey to get where you are.
yeah.
Is there a person along your way who has shaped or changed you, or who has like been there with you at a difficult time that you think helps you, lift you up to where you are now?
Yeah. It really takes a village to do this. I've been so lucky that I've had, um, like, voice teachers and, acting coaches, and dance teachers that in some way along every step of the way have been like, it's kind of like slowly building you up until I've become this version of myself. Um, So, I mean, my parents specifically have been there through it all, every up and down, and they've always been 100% supportive in, like, every capacity.
Clearly, your
Um,
mom was like your biggest advocate.
exactly, exactly, and oh my god, and my dad too. My dad is the proudest person I think I've ever met. We
Oh,
could be, if I'm in Omaha, um, and it's like a stranger at the grocery store, and it's like it'll come up somehow. You know what I mean? It's just like, how did you somehow find a way to bring this up. It's like, well, he's on Broadway, you know. So I would say like my parents just have been specifically supportive since day one. And I think they've just been they've been the reason that I've been able to have the confidence and, you know, the ability to do this crazy thing that we all do. And on top of that, you know, everyone I've ever met in every show I've ever done in some capacity has like, you know, helped me like either gain insight or learn a new skill or anything like that, or like, oh, you know, you're doing it this way, you should try it this way. And it's like, oh my god, I never thought of doing it that way, and then that helped. Um so yeah, it's just been, there's been a million people along the way that have been so supportive and so, you know, helpful. And you know, it's hard to pin down one person, but definitely my parents, I would say, are top of the list.
I love that.
Yeah, it's nice.
Aw.
Yeah.
I love that so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I always want to ask this question because I think it's so important just to know what other artists are like, what's feeding their souls, right? So do you have
Yeah.
anything that's really bringing you comfort during these insane times in our country
Oh my god.
when you're off the stage?
Yeah, it's, I love I love, what is feeding my soul? Honestly, listen, the first thing that came to mind was Succession. I love it
Oh,
so much.
yes.
I love, like,
We love
we love
Succession.
I really have enjoyed watching, like, I feel like I've been catching up on, like, you know, movies that are critically acclaimed, win all the awards that I just have never
Mm.
seen. You know what I mean? So like I've been doing a lot of that lately. Like I had never seen Thelma and Louise. I'm like, why is everyone reference this
Oh,
movie? I'm gonna watch
wow.
it. Things like that, where it's like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like, oh, Daniel Day Lewis's was really good in, you know, There Will Be Blood. I haven't seen it. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
So that's been it's like a very total shift from what I do at night. But I really like, you know, I've really enjoyed watching like actors like acting on
Yes.
screen.
Yes.
And so it kind of, that's what's been feeding my soul a bit, is like, you know, because Funny Girl is, my role in Funny Girl is obviously not, you know, is not the most, what's the word, you know, I'm not doing
Meaty.
Shakespeare here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's
You're not
been
Viola Davis.
exactly. Um, so that's what I've been doing, is kind of watching some like real gritty acting performances that are just stirring and exciting, and it inspires me to, you know, want to bring, this is so silly, but it wants me to even just bring even an iota of that into what I do at night.
Yeah.
Um, in the sense, like, it's made me like a better listener. Like that's what I've been watching, or people on screen, like, oh my god, like they are listening to them, and how are they registered? So that's what I've been doing to kind of
I
feed
love
my
that.
soul. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I get into these moods too where I
Yes.
do like old Hollywood movies, like the black and white
Yes,
movies that, you know, I just have
totally.
never watched. So I
Yeah.
love that. By the way, have you watched The Fablemans?
No, I haven't seen it yet. That's
Okay,
next
if
on
we're
our
talking
list.
about watching like acting
Yeah.
down, Michelle Williams in that
Oh
movie,
my
I'm
god.
like, damn.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, there's a lot of great performances this year, but I am
Totally. Good to
like
know.
Kate Blanchett in Tar,
Oh,
great.
yes, I've heard that was the other one that, like, that I need to see, and, yeah, so that's what I need to, like, scour, and, like, I wanna watch performances. Um,
Michelle Williams
okay.
in The Fablemans took me out.
Listen, she converted me in Fosse Verdon,
Oh, yeah.
because I wasn't, like, the most familiar with her work. Maybe I had seen her in other things, but just hadn't really clocked her. But oh my god, I just remember watching that, being like, "Who is she? Why haven't I known who she is?" You know what I mean? Like, why haven't I been studying her? Because I just think
Yeah.
she's incredible. So good to know. I will be
Yeah.
watching Michelle Williams in The Fablemans. So
10-10, 10-10.
yes,
Yes.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you for joining
yes, of
us.
course, of
Mhm.
We
course.
have one more question, my
Yeah.
favorite question. We
Oh,
actually haven't asked this to guests in a while,
oh my
Jason. I'm
god.
pulling it back out.
Okay,
And then
Love
we're
it.
going to jump into a super quick fun game. We
I love it.
always love to end the show with a game.
I love it.
Okay. if you had to go back to your least favorite survival job, so your catering gig on Good Morning America,
with Mr. Worldwide,
with Mr. Worldwide
dancing behind you,
for the next 10 years, to then come out of that and have your dream, perfect, blissful, artistic career, whatever that means to you, would you do it?
If I had to do GMA for 10 years, is that what you're saying? Like that one thing?
Or like your least favorite, like
least
the
favorite.
catering gig in general, to come out and have whatever your dream artistic life is, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Would you do it?
Yes. Oh my God. Because it's the thing that we're all, it's funny. So many people are like, oh my God, you're on Broadway. You've made it. And it's like, Broadway's not the finish line. I don't know if there is a finish line. Do you know what I mean? So to have a guarantee of like, yes, all of them will come true and this is the finish line, absolutely I would.
Because 10 years, really, if you think about it, like it
goes by
seems
like
a long time, but like 10 years ago, I'm like,
I remember 10 years. Exactly.
Right. But it's still like, we'll go in a blink.
Yeah, no, I totally would. I mean, that is the one thing that I feel like connects all of us in this industry or any adjacent entertainment industry, is there is such drive behind every person that you meet. And it's what sustains us through those crazy jobs that we've all had, is, the dream. I'm doing this now, and like, there will be a day where I don't have to do this. Now that's not to say that, once you hit the goal in big quotes, that, it's a roller coaster, this industry. So, just staying humble and knowing that some of these jobs are fleeting and just enjoying them as long as you can. But knowing that it is possible to achieve these things always sustained me in, when I was serving crudité to George Stephanopoulos. So,
crudité.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks. I love that question so much. I don't know. Everybody answers it so differently, and that's also why I love it.
Yeah, totally.
I do just want to say one quick thing before we jump into the game. You were like, I don't know if there ever is a finish line in this business. And it's so true. Even my friends who are like super, super successful, TV, whatever, there's always, you always want to get to that next level and always need to be fulfilled in different ways. So I think that's so important for all artists to know, like, just sit in it where you are and like enjoy the moment and keep working. But don't put the pressure.
Totally. It's so liberating. Yes, it's really liberating to know, like, no, like where you are in this journey, in this industry is enough. And, there just is no finish line. It's like everything, you're always kind of floating through, having the job, not having the job. And there's no one way to do it. And there's no winner. No one. It's like, congratulations, you've won theater. Like, it's not
true.
Yeah.
I think our girl Viola says something similar. Like,
we love Viola.
We love her. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be her when I grow up.
I think we all do.
Really.
Awesome. So we're gonna play a really fun game, Daniel.
Okay.
With that.
All right. Okay.
Samantha, this came from your brain this time. So do you want to explain it?
So, seeing as how you are in Funny Girl 8 shows a week, we want to test your Funny Girl knowledge and see how well you're paying attention to those lyrics.
Oh no!
How well you're listening?
Okay.
You were saying.
All right.
Oh.
I know now. Okay, now I got to put it to the test. We've done this like 340 shows or something. All right, let's see if I'm. Okay,
this is called Fill in the Funny Girl lyric. We're gonna read you a little snippet, and then we'll say like blank, and then you fill in the blank.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead, Jason. Kick it off.
Okay. With a 10-year guarantee, sit me in the blank seat, quick a cushion for my feet.
10-year guarantee, sit me in the softest seat?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, wonderful.
That's from Sadie Married.
Yes, we love it.
Great, okay, you're starting off strong.
Great.
Next, we'll give their backs a big pat. They deserve a future full of joys, because there are blank blank.
Because there are Yankee Doodle. There we go.
Snap.
Killing it.
Two
I love
for
it.
two.
I love it.
Killing it.
Okay. Who carries in his satchel a powdered blue blank suit, a silver-plated Wawa mute?
Carries in his satchel a powder blue Norfolk suit.
Daniel, are
Listen.
you in the show? 8 shows a week? Like,
I expected you to be this good at it, but
Oh, I
you
love
never
it.
know. Sometimes we stump
Sure.
people.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Next. How many girls become a sinner while waiting for a blank dinner?
While waiting for a roast beef dinner.
Wow.
gosh.
100%. And I mean the
I know.
bonus. If you don't
There's
get
a-
the bonus, I think you're fired
Yeah.
from the
Okay.
show.
Okay. I love it.
Samantha's
The
making
bonus
those executive
is
calls. Okay.
Yeah, I'll call someone. I'm just kidding.
Listen, I get it.
I have no power. I don't even anywhere.
Okay, this is the bonus.
Okay.
Life's candy, the sun's a ball of butter. Don't bring around a cloud to rain on my.
Hooray!
That was just like a bonus to throw in case you got one wrong, just to bring it back.
Oh, thank you. I do love extra credit, but
I mean, you literally got extra. You really killed the game.
wonderful.
What does he win?
What do I win?
A special invitation to the season 3 premiere party of Survival Jobs, a podcast.
Oh my God!
Whenever that-
Exciting.
Whenever that's going to be,
I
we'll
love
send
it.
you an invite. And
I
we
love
do it
it.
on a Sunday night so all of our Broadway friends can come.
Perfect. Fine, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Congrats!
Thank you so much. It's very exciting.
Yes. Oh, it was so lovely to chat with you.
Thank you guys so much. This has been lovely.
Thank you. And
course.
before you go, would you mind telling all your new fans who may have listened where they can find you on the interwebs, on your social media?
Sure.
And share all that info?
Yes, I'm on the Instagram. You can find me at Daniel Beeman. And that is the only social media I have.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. So find
Safe.
me-
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe. Yeah, find me on Instagram at Daniel Beeman. That's where you'll find me.
That's where you'll find
Love
me.
it.
And if you're tuning in to us for the first time because you're a Daniel fan, as you should be, check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Survival Jobs Pod. We're on Facebook at Survival Jobs a Podcast. Shoot us an email at survivaljobspod@gmail.com. You can follow me at Sammy Toots and at my boy Jason at Jason A. Coombs.
Yes.
Daniel, we'll see you around
Daniel.
town.
Awesome. Thank you. This is
Break all the legs.
Thank you so
Keep
much.
shining.
Thanks.
Shining.
Yeah.